Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own quill pen and also how to make your own custom wax seal so that you can seal your important documents like letters or maps for any of your fantasy writing needs. So let's go over our supplies list. So supplies you're going to need a feather, you're going to need the ink part of a ballpoint pen, you're going to need some floral tape, some scissors, a piece of clay, any kind of clay will work. I'm using air dry myself. A carving tool of some kind, like a toothpick. Some kind of fire source, like a lighter, a crayon, and then of course something to actually seal with your wax. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're gonna do here on our quill is we are going to cut the very end of it off. When you are getting it from a bird, it is not going to have an open end. So we need to just snip and see if we've got anything yet. And nope, that's still closed. So we're just gonna keep snipping till we get there. Just do a little bit at a time. You wanna have as much of the shaft intact as possible for what you're doing. So I just inserted my ballpoint pen refill in there to make sure that it can actually fit in there. The other thing I was going to mention too, if you are in need of a ballpoint pen refill but you don't have one on hand, what you can always do is just disassemble a pre-existing ballpoint pen. This one has that nice screw top on it. You can take off the pieces and boom, we're ready to go. But since we have ours ready to go already, what I'm going to do is go ahead and insert this, make sure it's a nice good fit. But as you can see, we've got quite a bit sticking out here. So, and that's going to make this really wobbly. When we try and write with it, no good. So we're gonna trim some off here. First, I'm just gonna trim up to where the ink is itself and see if that works. Okay, so I don't have as much sitting out there, and we can also reinforce this with our handy dandy floral tape. So floral tape is really wonderful stuff because as you can see, it's not actually sticking to anything right now. But it will once we activate it. So how to activate floral tape so it actually sticks to stuff is you're going to stretch it at the same time as you are wrapping it around your quill. So I am wrapping it starting at the top of the shaft here of the feather because I want to make this a nice uniform look. But really the most important bit is we want to make sure we're bridging the gap between the ink refill and the shaft itself. And because I have some of my ink refill sitting out here, I'm going to make sure and give it a few extra wraps to reinforce it. And again, I'm stretching the whole time I am wrapping this. This is what's activating the floral tape to actually stick to itself. Again, not really sticky when I touch it, but it is holding itself in place because it is sticking to itself. Okay. So now, when I move that, it's not nearly as wobbly. I am just gonna pull on it to tear it, squish it to itself with my fingers, and boom, you have this lovely feather quill pen. So let's go ahead and test writing with it real fast. Beautiful. So, all right, moving on. Now that we have our feather quill pen and we've got our letter here, we're going to want to seal it. So for that step, we are going to go ahead and get out our clay and our toothpick. So now that we've made our feather quill pen, now we're going to make our seal. So we're going to need your clay and your toothpick, and we are going to start shaping this into a cylinder. All right. And none of this has to be perfect, but Now that we've got the cylinder here, we need to make it so that it is wider at this end. And I have found the easiest way to do that is just to squish it. Just squish it on the table, preferably a flat surface like this. Then we're gonna reshape our handle here. This exterior can be as pretty or as messy as you want because this is the star of our show. This is where we're going to be carving our seal. All right. So now that I have my surface to work with, it's nice and flat because I've squished it against the table. I'm going to carve something into it. Because I did an A last time, I think I will do an H this time. And very important to remember, as you're carving this on here, anything you carve on here is going to be reversed. So actually, rather than doing an H, I think I'm going to do the letter C, because that will be a nice example of I cannot carve it like a regular letter C, because then when I go to press it, the wax is going to come out and it's going to be backwards. So I need to carve a backwards C on here. So and the beautiful thing of it is that this is clay. So if you mess up or if you're not happy with how things are turning out, you can always just squish it and say, I'm starting over. All right, so now we've got our backwards C seal here. So now I'm gonna show you how you can use the seal to make your letter. I'm not gonna use this one because this is air dry clay and it needs to sit until it is dry. If you have oven baked clay, follow the directions on your box. And then once your seal is hard and ready to go, you're gonna get your letter, your completed seal, your crayon, and your lighter. And then we're going to show you how you use that. So, of course, if you are not an adult, please get an adult to help you with this part because we are using fire, so that is a safety hazard. We're gonna find the point in which we need to put our seal where these two edges meet so that if anyone is trying to read our letters without talking to us first, we can tell they've broken the seal. So using my hand to kind of hold these two flaps together, got my crayon in my other hand and I'm going to hold it over the letter while it drips so that it makes a nice little puddle. And you want to make the puddle commensurate to the size of your seal. So if you have a little tiny seal, you don't need a big puddle of wax. And you can always use your crayon itself to kind of spread it around. Now, right now this is very, very liquidy. Crayon does not lend itself well to being pressed with a seal right away, so we're gonna watch it. And what I'm looking for is I want it to be mostly cooled, but not hard yet. So it's like a little squishy, but not liquidy. So I got it. This is something that you just learn from practice. You can try it many, many times. I recommend practicing on scrap paper before you do it on something you actually want to send to someone. All right, so I think I'm gonna do it now because as you can see, it's gotten harder around the edges, but it's still a little squishy in the center. So I think we're about the right time. So we're gonna take our seal, make sure we have it positioned correctly over it. We're gonna press it in firmly to the wax and we are gonna hold it there for 10 seconds. This is very important. Crayon wax needs to be at least 10 seconds. So I'm gonna say it's been at least 3 already. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Doesn't hurt to leave it on longer, but you need to leave it on long enough. And we're gonna very carefully lift up our seal. And boom, we have a beautiful letter A right there on our letter. Looks just like our seal. And that's how you can make your own quill pen to write your own letters and seal them with your own wax seal. Thanks for watching.